Good morning. It's Tuesday, February 28th, 2023. This is a meeting of the Ocean Shores Radio Board. And just remind everybody as we call to order that this meeting is to be maintained in respectful communications among all the participants. So I definitely appreciate all the following of that mindset throughout this meeting. Roll call. Members first, Daryl. Present. Daryl's present.
Rosanna present.
Thank you.
I'm here. Dave's here.
Dave's here. Sheriff Thomas.
Yeah, just walk in.
Right there. Oh, right there. Hi, Tom. Okay, thank you. And I'm going to ask you on the chair. Thanks very much. Okay. We'll move on to the approval of the meeting agenda. Please take a moment to review the agenda, and if you have any changes or other points that you need to be brought forth, please bring it now. I have put a motion forward to remove the second item designated as 7 under the discussion portion. It's a duplicate. There's a 7 change internet service provider led by board chair Martin Hatfield, and then they're followed by a second 7 dot change internet service provider. Just pull the second one out. It's just a duplicate. I have a vote. Could I have a motion to make that?
Yeah, so moved.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
Seconded. Any discussion point? Okay, quick vote. Those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye, sorry.
Dan, okay, so we'll strike the second item there. Public communications time.
We need to approve the agenda. No, you just removed.
I'm sorry?
You need to approve the
Oh.
agenda now.
Oh, okay, that's right, that's the adjustment. Now we need a vote to approve the agenda. Sorry. And so I need to have a motion to approve.
Yeah, so moved.
Okay, thank you, Dave. And a second. Second, any further discussion on accepting the meeting agenda? Hearing none, quick vote, verbal, please.
Aye.
Thank you, I also. I think we have passed that, so we have approval of the meeting minutes. Agenda. I'm sorry, agenda. I'm too close together for my eyes this morning. We're open to public communications now. We have 3 minutes first. Didn't minutes like.
Approval of the minutes.
You approved the agenda, not the minutes from last week.
We'll keep you there.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm offline right now. So now we're going to approve the meeting minutes, correct? Okay. All right, do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Move.
Okay, thank you, Dave. And a second? I'll second. Thank you, Daryl. And then do we have any discussion on the meeting minutes? Follow for approval? Those in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Okay, we have unanimous approval on the minutes. Now I think we can move forward to public communications limited to 3 minutes from the public. Radio board does accept written public comments via email to the city clerk. Do we have any written
I did not
comments?
receive any written comments.
Thank you, Sarah. So we have anyone present who wishes to provide communications from the public?
Yes.
Okay, Don Williams has voice. Please go ahead, Don.
Okay. Just wanted to say last night's council meeting sounded pretty good. I got lost after the executive session, so I'm not sure if it was carried, but the quality was excellent. Last week, you talked about having this discussion of your web page, and is that on today? If so, I'd like to make comments either now or at the time it's discussed. I think you asked to discuss the webpage this meeting at the last one.
Yes, that's correct, Don. And I'd appreciate if you could hold your points until we actually get into that. I want to kind of compress all of that together. So that would be appreciated.
Okay, then carry on. I'll be here. Thank you.
I'll ask if there's any objection to having the public comment from Don at the time of our discussion. Okay, hearing none, then we'll proceed. Okay, reports. Sorry,
Public comment, okay.
no further public comments. Okay, thank you. All right, shares report. Well, I'll say that, we're in a time of expansion, both of listeners and coverage, and the expansion of ideas involving content on the station, and that we have to be respectful of the differences and opinions that are going to be brought forth. And the station managers, however, have the responsibility to call the decisions of the on-air operations of the radio station. We have a responsibility as a board to guide the program directors, and that's one of the things that we do at this meeting. So I just want to have people keep that in as a mindset, and beyond that, my shares report will include a couple of comments outside of the technology report. I have a meeting that's going to be coming up on Thursday, which is with the Public Works Committee, and we'll be talking about the tower transmitter site relocation and various facility expenses that are going to be undertaken by the radio station and the city. So those will be coming up later this week, and I'll have information at the next board meeting. I think we can move on to the station report from Butch and Trey. And so I'll toss it to you guys.
Well, the first thing is our shed is almost ready to get the electrical. You get the bid went out, right? I mean, yeah. So as soon as I hear from the electric company, I think it was MB electrical.
Electric.
Yeah. Yeah, and the fence is done. So that's all we gotta do is get the electrical in there, then we can insulate it and sheet rock it and start moving all our stuff in there. Start reorganizing the station itself. Right now, you can hardly walk through half of it. So much stuff in there. The other one is our next festival coming up that we're gonna be doing is Razor Clam. That's 3 days. Mike Price is now our event coordinator this year, heading that up. The other thing I have, and the last thing I have, is going forward with underwriting. If the board would like to have the foundation do the underwriting, then we need to have a contract signed with the board and the city, how that money gets dispersed. And I think it's going to be a win-win for the city and for us, because if we get a commission to people that are out there selling through the foundation, then we probably get more marketing, which would bring more money into the city radio account. So, but we need to discuss on how you want to go open with that.
Okay, well, some of that will come up a little bit later.
Oh, you got that in? Okay. That's it.
Okay, great.
Okay, two things. First off, actually, people keep saying the foundation, it's not a foundation, it's a nonprofit. The nonprofit bought a desk for the station that once we get the shed all set away, it's going to be the desk for volunteers to come in and work at. And then the second thing is, we've been working on this thing to come up with an equitable schedule for off Monday slots. And we've got the schedule completely filled in with one date open. And I think that is a good thing, because you never know between now and when that date comes open, if we might have a new volunteer.
Okay,
Oh, and I should also know one thing, when you get to the web thing. Damon is in class, he was gonna try to be here slightly after 11,
okay,
and he is our webmaster.
sure. Okay. All right, on to the technology report. I can say that I have filed the FCC FEMA, what they call ETRS, it's Form 1, which is a preparatory form. The FCC has many steps in their processes, but every few years, they do a national emergency alert test of all radio and television broadcasts simultaneously. And it's been a couple of years since we had one. And so we're getting ready for another one. And 2023 is going to be one of the years, probably June, July, or August, something like that. They'll run the test. But what they do is they have a requirement that by close of business today, all broadcast stations have to have submitted details about the equipment, the location, the version of software that's being run to make sure that it is consistent with the ability for the federal government to be able to actually send a message out from ideally the White House to simulate a national emergency that the president needs to be able to speak to everyone in the country at once. It's a serious matter, and we do these tests just like all the other emergency alert tests. Occasionally there are failures, but it's what we learn from those failures that makes it stronger for the next test. So we've been very fortunate in having positive results in our previous tests with the FCC. And this one will be coming up this year, but I did get it filed in a timely manner, and we're all ready to go on that. There is a new 2023 emergency alert operating handbook now. We'll have that posted at the station, and it needs to be available near the remote control point, which is the main studio. And it can reside on a computer as a file, but it's always good to have a copy of it printed and available to the operators. It just gives last minute instructions, so to speak. If an emergency alert does come in that's at a certain priority level, it gives you the instructions on if there's anything you have to do. Fortunately, we're configured in a way so that it's automatic. When the test comes in, it just stops whatever we're doing right now. It doesn't even stop it. It just lets it continue to play, but it takes it off the air, puts the messaging out, and then returns to the program in progress.
You have this electronic,
I'm sorry?
you have this electronic? Can you send it?
Yeah, I'll send you a link to it.
So the system is downstream of the board.
Yes, yeah, it's one of the last items in the broadcast chain for almost all stations. Some people have them slightly rearranged in their configuration, but the idea is you want it to be the last piece of equipment that fails and not be able to have the test work. And if it's the third or fourth thing before the last item in the chain, any of those other failures could interrupt the ability to carry the emergency message. So
Is it on uninterruptible power supply?
yeah. Okay. Technology report. Okay, let's move on to the presentation from Frank. Do you have any items from the city council?
I don't, but I just talked to Butch here. This emergency handbook needs to get emailed out to everybody. It's on the radio, so we can at least look it over, so we're familiar with it. Instead of having
I'll leave that up to the
we got a
manager to
problem, and now we
circulate.
gotta look at the handbook and see what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. There are some elements to it that get filled out, I believe, with the various notes, and then, but yes, that can easily be circulated. I'll leave that to you guys to circulate to whomever you wish. But the rules don't care about that. The rules say it must be available at the station.
Sure.
So, but I appreciate that because it makes sense. Why not?
That and I'm looking forward to the public works meeting, to get all the rundown on labor and materials that we
Sure.
need to
Mhm,
do, so
absolutely.
that's all I got.
Thank you. All right, board member reports. I'm the first one up. I don't have nothing in particular specifically, but just say that as we go through the board member reports, brevity is appreciated. So who would like to go first? Yeah, after me, since I have none. Daryl, your name's on the bullet pointer.
Okay, Butch and I went to legislative review, the last week before last Olympia, it was an all day long thing. And we heard from a lot of the leaders in the state legislature, and it's hosted by the Washington Association of Broadcasters and the newspaper, some newspaper group. So it was interesting. Didn't learn a heck of a lot that pertains to radio, but it was basically about kind of a news thing about how certain bills as they're going through the state legislature, what the status was.
And these are bills that are related to broadcast entities through the state. Washington State, we're members of the Washington State Association of Broadcasters now. And so they have lobbying efforts in Olympia to support the broadcast entities throughout the state. So, well, thank you for attending.
I wish there was a little more on radio during it, though.
Mhm, mostly TV.
Mostly
Yeah.
TV.
Well-
We're about the only radio people. There might have been one other person from radio that we talked to that
Yeah.
day.
But that's great because we're putting our face out
Yeah,
there.
and Keith, what's his name?
Shipman.
Shipman. He's a nice guy.
He is wonderful.
He knew who we were before we.
Yes, I keep him up to speed. We've been good friends for a long time.
He said he would never get the Kingdom days, so.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, he owns a couple of radio stations in Oregon and, but he's the chair of the Washington, or president of the Washington State Association of Broadcasters.
Great guy.
So, yes, good. Glad to hear that. Rosanna.
Yes, actually Butch just kind of clarified it a little for me. I think I need a little more clarification. It was about bringing in underwriter donations, because I just had one recently. So and I was wondering if we were going to get compensated by nonprofit 501, or are you saying, Butch, that you need city approval for the new contract brochure to see if you are involved with that, say, compensation for the underwriter?
Rosanna, may I interrupt you? Can you hold this until item 9?
Yes, I can.
I would appreciate that because these are just supposed to be reports right now.
Okay,
So if you were involved.
that's
in
it.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
Dave, we'll move on to you.
Yeah, no, I'll wait till all that is good.
Okay, so that's all you have on that. Okay, Tom,
There's a report.
no report. Okay. All right. Thank you all for your various inputs on that, and we'll move on to old business. We have nothing slated under old business right now. We also have nothing slated under new business, but we have plenty to discuss. So the first item under discussion is to change internet service provider. That was tabled at the last meeting from a motion that was presented. And this is regarding the comparison of our present web provider versus GoDaddy, I believe. Is that consistent? Okay.
Can we move that to beyond 11 o'clock? Because like I said, David has a lot of the answers for that and he's just now getting out of teaching the class.
Okay. Any objection to holding that for 10 or 15 minutes? Okay. Then we'll hold item number 7 hold. To after. Okay. Thank you for that. We'll move on now to the KOSW news reports and subscriptions. it's being led by me, but it's actually feedback from you guys, station managers, as to, what is the, area of interest in this.
That came up last meeting when you weren't here because Daryl had some concerns.
Oh, that type, the rip and
about
read
what he called
situation,
Rip
right?
and read.
Okay, so once again, this is one of those situations that, we should talk about, obviously. However, there are, copyright, matters that have to be attended to. And, as was, commented on by Daryl at the previous meeting, they're called fair use. Which are very short segments, usually on the element duration of 10 or 15 seconds of information that can be gleaned from other sources. But it's always in the broadcast community been at least recommended that credit be given to the source of the news that we're carrying at that time. And if it's being read out of a newspaper, say this is straight out of XYZ's newspaper, preferably even the date of the newspaper report, if you're doing it by a newspaper. If you're getting it off the web, it should say this came from Reuters or AP or whoever has the headline on the article or the information that's being presented. Are the other members of the board satisfied with this approach? Or are there matters that need to be discussed as far as a credit
Daryl had
process?
questions, they never got answered.
Yeah, if it's a long, if it's a 2-paragraph thing, some soft news that you see only on the Aberdeen World, really should be credited to those guys. And if it's, you can't copyright an event, so if the roads are slick and something says it's that way, you can certainly say that, that's a news item. But like with sports stuff, you could give the scores and that's fine, but if you
Sure.
talk about how somebody sprained their leg, well, that's a news thing, but if you said they sprained the leg in 10 different places on the fibula and things or whatever it is. Well, can I answer the question that you asked me last time that I started to answer and then the internet froze and. Oh, that's fine. Okay. We have done this the way that we've done it for 9 years. And in that time, I've never had anyone from the Daily World, KXRO, Como TV, wherever we're getting our source material, call up and complain. I think the reason is, as an LP station, they don't care. Now, and this is one of the reasons why I had mentioned, I think 2 or 3 months back, that when we get the point of being a full power station, we're gonna need to revisit this because we're no longer gonna be this little podunk thing that nobody cares about. And I think at that point, we're gonna have to get to where we basically reinvent how we do news here. But I think as a 100-watt station, nobody really cares that we're reading stuff out of the Daily World or wherever we get it from. So I think for the next 2 or 3 months, I mean, if you guys want us to change, we will change, but I don't see it as that big of a deal. But when we go full power, then I think that this is a real discussion and we need to sit down and maybe, for 2 or 3 hours or a day or something like that, try to reconfigure what we're doing. Sarah, did you have a?
I will say, I disagree with you 110%. And the
Right.
reason being for that is that the radio station is city owned. And as the city, on social media, the website, all of that, I have to say, this is from the Daily World. I have to say, this is from KBKW. So I
Yeah.
9 years is a long time, but you have to do that.
Yeah, and I'm
So
gonna,
just because now you're on recording saying that, and this is a city-owned radio station, I just have to make that very clear to you. I have to on all things that I do, outsourcing, so
yeah,
just-
we can't with knowledge not follow the rules on that. So, real quick, Tom.
Yeah, I echo her sentiment last meeting that as long as you give credence to the source, there is no issue.
Right.
Also, I'd like to point out that I found 3 nonprofit news sources that I'd like to submit to you to pass out if you wish to that where we can get our news and information for practically nothing because we were a nonprofit.
Sure.
And I'd like for you to consider those as well.
Okay, I'm gonna turn these over to the managers
Okay.
for their review and then they can comment on it later on. Quick day?
Don't worry, Marty, I'm gonna be quick. Yeah, I would say, you know, I understand the concerns that Daryl brought up too, because I did sit on one of the TV board meetings that they had a while back. And the people, it was my understanding at the last meeting that voiced the concern were former newspaper publishers and editors from Seattle. And well, we can say we're a low power station when our news in the mornings is being carried over the TV. That TV has a much larger range currently than our station does, because they go all the way down to
Yeah, on cable,
just
yeah.
about to Tahola.
Right.
So that I agree, we should.
Yeah.
Giving everybody credit that deserves it.
I want to add one more thing.
Yes.
In fair use, the initials FU sound for something different if you're using a copyrighted story. And you never know, you get one disgruntled employee and there could be a stringer that has written the story and they decide, no, I want to get paid for this. And so National Geographic ran into that with all the pictures in the magazines and they put it on the web and the photographer said, no, you can't do that. And they had to pull them.
Sure. Well, so I think it's within my power to just instruct you guys to start making certain that there's a proper accreditation of the sources for news stories that we're doing. There's no way around it. So immediately begin following that guide.
One more note I'd like to add, is, you know, when I was searching for some news stories here a couple of weeks ago, I actually came across, because it's not easy to find stories that talk about ocean shores. There's not a lot out there. So sometimes you have to search a long time to find anything ocean shore specific. And I did find one article, and sure enough, lo and behold, at the very end of it says, not permitted to rebroadcast, rewrite. And so I just said, well, forget it. I'm not even gonna attempt it, you know, because and that was actually the first time I'd ever seen it, was right on the bottom of the article. Don't redistribute, don't reprint, don't rewrite.
You can always ask for permission, they may not grant it, but
Right.
don't do it without permission, and that's the safety valve that's in place. Okay, and thank you, Thomas, that's great news to have, no pun intended, to have some alternate sources, because that's exactly the type of thing we're gonna be looking for. And eventually we may become associated with a particular news source. We don't know yet at this stage, but free is good. So
Yes.
we appreciate that very much.
And may I add something else about subscriptions?
Okay,
I guess I didn't realize that we were working with nonprofits, but I like to also, as much as we are, but I also brought some material regarding nonprofit, back to digital advertising and how we can, Roseanne, how we can go over beyond what's being done now to help more advertising as well as to increase your revenue. One of the things that if you mentioned the FCC, it gives non-commercial radio stations more leeway to
okay, well, let's wrap that into the
okay,
next one on the website area, because frankly, the website provides some of the largest opportunity because there are no restrictions. We can run car commercials on the website.
exactly. Well, you know, they want to phrase properly so that you're not promoting
Okay, but
a particular auto shop, but you can't say they got.
But that's over the air. And I don't want to get too deep into the details, but over the air is completely different from what's on the internet as far as the FCC regulations go.
You're correct. I have read that the site gives a little more leeway.
Oh, it's 100% more. I mean, the narrow scope of what can be broadcast. While back in the 80s, they did expand the sense of description that's available on over the air programming.
So maybe the question we should have is, how are we going to design these ads
Right.
for the website? Who's going to put them on?
Right.
And okay. great.
Yeah, exactly. Well, then maybe we can touch into that a little bit here on the revenue stream sponsorship item, which is coming up next. Okay.
The item that you were gonna skip, we have Damon here.
Oh, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Thanks, David. Great. Well, let's jump down now that David's here to give him the best time available. Let's jump to item 10, which is restructuring. Says outline, it's supposed to be online, I believe, and community radio websites. And what our matter is with the comparison, actually, that's right, this is number 7, yeah, number 1, that's right, delayed. So it was comparison of our present host, which is a host Papa. And I believe sometime in the month of March, the present contract expires. 22nd. Okay. And there is a desire to abandon host Papa. And the undercurrent that I understand is that they are a non-responsive service provider. That they do not respond to our requests for help. Apparently they claim they have a help system, but it is not available to us, have not been able to be available to us. The opportunity would be before us now to go to like GoDaddy or another web server, web hosting group. Frankly, I would also like to see what the cost would be to use the web hosting that the city uses. I find, at least personally, and I think professionally, that if you are able to bundle with your whole package, that A, you can get better pricing, and B, it's easier because your contact list has shrunk instead of having to go to 2 or 3 different services. Who is the city's?
We go through GoDaddy, but our website goes through Revise.
Okay,
So our host is GoDaddy, but our website software is through.
okay, so can we find out? I don't know who would be the individual, maybe you could find out what the costs are to, we already know what our costs are to go to GoDaddy as a new user under GoDaddy. I don't know if we can expand our contract that the city has to be able to come in under using them
And save money.
and save some additional dough. But I want to point out what I believe to be the source beyond just the point of host Papa's non-responsiveness, is that you know, we are using WordPress, and we have a few glitches on the website that are relative to, I believe, the instruction set within WordPress for the elements as to where they belong on the website or where they're positioned and a few other things. And so what I'd like to know is the cost differential for staying with WordPress and using city resources who are already advanced trained in WordPress language, as opposed to dumping WordPress and going with another product. Can you give us some illumination on those?
Sure. So I just want to verify real quick on the hosting. It's not that they're non-responsive, but their technical support is like remote all around the world. So you can call somebody, open up a ticket. It's in Germany, you call again, someone's in Ottawa, someone's in the Philippines. We're trying to get someone that knows your issue, if it's just in a ticketing system. That's led to, as far as the streaming. And I essentially, I had just given up with wasting my time trying to get a hold of someone. With the streaming, not listing the actual song name,
Yeah,
it's because the correct port isn't open. So after weeks of going through and waiting a couple days, hearing back, that's been the issue. And I've been perfectly honest with that for a while. I just got frustrated. I just wasn't dealing with it. Then there was talk about moving over. I apologize, I don't have it in front of me, but I did show a price comparison between GoDaddy and what we're paying for Host Papa right now, and there wasn't a huge big difference between the year. If you can get cheaper hosting through the city, awesome. The main deal with WordPress is by design was created for that, so I wouldn't, because I don't have the time to update everything. Butch has spent probably Trey as well, but Butch, I know Butch has done amazing stuff with that, just uploading images and stuff. That's why we went for WordPress, because essentially, if you can update an email or a Word document, you can update the majority of WordPress, besides some of the technical stuff. I would be totally stoked if you get the city to do it for free, or they're gonna pay for it, that'd be great. I apologize, I just haven't had some of the instances, I just haven't had. I mean, it's just-
we're all volunteers.
Right, I get it.
We're all strapped for time too.
Huh.
So believe me, we're on the same page for that. That's not a problem.
So, yeah, that's what, sorry, I don't know if I answered your question. I just wanted to make sure about the hosting.
Okay.
It's like I said, there's not that they're completely non-responsive, it's just not very good support, and I've worked with GoDaddy for years. I know you can usually get someone on the phone. And because of the I wouldn't necessarily say high traffic, but because of the more robust website we have now, we're using more data. There's a whole thing that we're already maxed out on the data through our host. So when that ends, you're gonna have to upgrade anyways, because we're not gonna get the same deal that we had for the last couple of years or two. And then we also, when we went with Host Papa, like we had like pennies at the time of that. And Host Papa was one of the cheaper versions to go for, and in that sense, you get what you pay for.
Okay. Sarah, is it within your
Yeah.
purview to dig into that side of the equation and figure that out? That would be really, really helpful, because I think not only could it be a little bit more affordable, but I feel like the hosting package would be much more under our control than where we are right now.
I feel that.
How
do we make that formal?
Let's see, I guess technically we can ask for a motion to have, I don't think we have to go through a motion, no, this is in discussion. We're gonna include new information relative to the city's overhead for their website involvement, and what it would take to incorporate the radio stations under the same
I think the
umbrella.
only thing we'd have to make a motion on is, since this provider we have now expires before our next meeting, that we probably should make a motion to go ahead and move to the cheapest option that we can find with regards to GoDaddy. Because this is gonna be extending funds.
It would be good to have the whole business.
I'll just say that I don't know. I don't think the board has to vote on that. This is a matter, you guys originally made decisions on the needs of the radio station to fulfill an expectation of a web presence, and been able to make changes without any direct board involvement. It's a normal function of a management team to
But it's
make those types of decisions.
But it's the expenditure of funds.
Yes.
We've always come to the board to decide what.
We have $1,000 limit that's in the bylaws, I believe, that we don't have to come to board if it's under $1,000, right? Didn't we do that a few years back?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm reluctant to rely on anything in the,
Well, we should check that because I believe, and this is when we were meeting over at the Elks Club at that time. That we were talking about, we have to come to the board for every time we just want to spend a dime,
right.
and you guys put a limit on it. Whether it was 500 or 1,000, one of the two, I can't quite remember.
Well, I'm just saying, in the past, though, the board has always, made the final decision as to.
So do we decide, well,
I would
can't think
so.
of a,
I would think so.
if,
I think you would just.
we make changes with Comcast, you guys do.
No,
that.
no, we don't come to board for everything we spend on.
Yeah.
Go to Sarah though,
Yeah.
because she's the one that approves the account that we have budgeted.
Right.
for.
There's nothing in the bylaws about having a fund
Yeah, cost limits or anything.
for the, well, so I don't know,
Yeah.
how hard is it to make a motion and pass it? And then you don't have any
Well,
questions.
yeah, I guess, so, least expensive, solution, I'm just trying to think of, okay,
Well, it's
I'll just
cost.
open it. I'd like to hear a motion that will allow, the station management to proceed with a possible change of our, service provider or web hosting, provider, based on cost. Based on cost.
Well, could you say cost effective, because Post Poppet is cheaper than GoDaddy, but GoDaddy provides greater support and flexibility, so that's why I would say cost effective.
Well, and that's why we want to investigate and see if we can get a better deal by having another source. Yes, Sarah.
I think that if we're gonna help with the website, it's pretty much the city's purview on who the hosting is. So if we find that GoDaddy is more beneficial to the
Yeah.
website, that we're going to then leave it at that.
Right, okay.
Like,
So I don't think we have anything that we actually have.
no,
to-
if you're going to say, we'll help, blah, blah, blah. GoDaddy's who we go through, so I don't think it's the same. Is what I'm kind of getting.
Okay, I mean, it's in the city's best interest to have.
Yeah.
Best pricing on our consolidation product. Okay.
Let's put that as an old business for next time, it's going to report back what they decide.
Yes, that we can do that. So. Okay. I don't know that there's any more discussion in this matter. Do we have any comments from other board members that need to be heard now? Okay, so we can proceed and. Yeah, and we don't need to do a vote for a motion or anything. Okay, wonderful. Always.
Can I
appreciate
make
that.
one suggestion?
Yes.
When we go back about spending funds. We can't wait once a month to ask the board if we want to spend $100. So that's why I know what we did it in the minutes, may not be in the bylaws. You know what I'm saying? If every time we'd have to bring our whole list at once a
Right.
month, but we want to buy it.
Right,
And if we have to spend money, that's why we always go through Sarah. Sarah is in controlling our budget.
right.
So the refrigerator that you just bought, did that come from Sarah?
That came through our budget through Sarah.
So. I don't know what you,
Well, no, let's say. If we have to spend some money during the month.
but that's up to, oh, yeah, but
No, but I just heard that we have to come to the board every time we want to
No.
spend. it. Okay, that's what I wanted to get clear.
no, that was not
Okay.
correct. Okay. All right, thank you. All right, looking for now. Item number 9. And this, we can bring up the discussions that were started by Rosanna and her question regarding the sponsorship and revenue stream, I believe. Motion to, yeah. So as to the revenue streams and sponsorship. What there was a group that was generated out of the last meeting. That was a motion made by Tom. Who, quote, appoint an ad hoc committee to study rates, revenues, revenue streams and funding for a high-powered station. And I'd like to hear if we have a report on that.
And we have somewhat of a report. We had, on the committee was supposed to be Butch and Frank and myself and Rosanna. We met twice and but Butch didn't come. And because he said, he sent an email saying.
We don't have
Yeah,
to,
well, I'm just saying he didn't come and so we're gonna have two discussions. We're gonna have one, I think, about the foundation and its relationship to the board, to the radio station. Okay, that's probably first. And then secondly, then we still need to have a discussion about funding because now Trey did put out a recent proposal, if you like, for the new structure on the rates. And I guess maybe this thing went off already. And so we, that's all we had to work with. So what we did is, see if I can make this come on, but it was on earlier. So I went ahead and put together a spreadsheet under the rates that Trey had. And what we, oh, there's come on.
And I have copies of same here if people want.
There you go, so you can pass that around if you would. But so what I did with is I did write back an email to Trey because there are two categories of his underwriter brochure that say that we're maxed out at three sponsors. And so I contacted him to ask if about the other categories and if those also have any kind of four underwriters. And he responded and said that we never had any limits on the amount of sponsors on the other. So what I did is on that wall, you can see right down Kristen there is a spreadsheet. I can't get it to move up on my screen any, so sorry about that. But what I did is I took that funding thing that he just passed out and I put on there the gold support package, every package that he has here. And then what I did is I listed it at 4 sponsors. Well, you can see 1 sponsor is his rates here. 2 sponsors is his rates here, 3 sponsors here, 4 sponsors here, okay? So the bottom line is if the way I see it is if you had 4 sponsors for every single category on there, and not 3, not 2, not 1, just 4, then our bottom line would be, so that's the different package. There's your gold support, and 4 sponsors would be $480 for 1 year. But I went ahead and told them all. So I didn't just say 1 year. I say we got 4 sponsors that have just signed up for 3 months, 4 sponsors that have signed up for 6 months, and 4 more sponsors that have signed up for 1 year. Okay, so then that is the last column there that says no max. And of course, even the ones that do have a max out at 4 sponsors. So for you to do that for every category he has here, gold support, platinum support, Hall of Fame support, city council broadcast package, that would bring you a total of $9,690. And you'd have to have 52 sponsors, 52 underwriters to make that number. And then when you divide that number by the year, let's see, where did I put that at? Anyway, it was oh, there it is. That only comes up to $807 a month, which is not, so obviously when we're talking about $3,000 rental on a tower, our goal would be obviously to raise more, I would hope, than $800 a month. And that's a whole lot more sponsors than we currently have. So I did I put as rose-colored glasses as I could on that. 52 sponsors, filling every category we have, brings in $9,690 a year, which comes up to $807.50 per month, which is not enough. And so that's why we wanted to try to have a fundraising committee to also toss around other possibilities like memberships, like how much do we get for some of these events, and possibly adjusting the prices on events that we do, but we weren't able to get into any discussion except for this, because there's got to be some other pieces of revenue that we're gonna have to look into, and some of that will coincide with the next discussion when we start getting into the web design, because I've got some other web design from other community radio stations that have sponsors as well, and have things for sign up, and also have places for people to become members if they want to, citizens and whatnot.
Right.
And maybe you give them and I know that this has been discussed, but I've looked throughout the board's minutes for the last several years. And I know that several years ago, they talked about having, whatever, you know what I mean, I'm lost for the word, but I kind of like public TV, public radio. If we have this, you can be a sponsor, or would you like to be a member, become a member of public broadcasting? And for being a member, we're gonna, if you're a member at the whatever standpoint, we'll send you
Premiums.
a cat or something like
Okay,
that.
so I have a fun word.
And
Go ahead.
anyway, that concludes pretty much anything I can
Okay,
say.
I have a fun word. I think that any discussion about the North Beach Independent Media is totally out of the purview of this group.
Yeah,
I don't think that we have any more business talking about this than the fresh waterway to the library.
so right now,
I think that, I think that this is just outside of our group, and if they want to, the North Beach Independent Media is, if they're gonna be selling radio time, I used to be TV time sales on radio time. Then they're acting as a ad agency, and they can do what they want as far as their rates, and we have to sell it to them at the rate, because we're a city entity, most likely at this rate that you sell to anybody else, unless there is a wholesale rate. And if there is, then you probably get that the ad agency rate. Other than that, I don't care what they do for me. And I don't think there's any of our business to talk about.
yeah, and I'd like to say on that point you just made, is that I do care what they do, our members. And first of all, if I could finish, Carol, I'd let you finish. We have no agreement at this time with North Beach Independent Media. So currently, we're raising funds just like we have always raised funds until we do have an agreement that says, and we'll have to talk about that as another part of this, as like what are their what are their goals? What if we said no, well, they're gonna, if they're raising funds for us,
Not my business.
it is our business.
No, it's not. Okay, hold on, please.
Because we should be able, now we know that, because we don't have to let North Beach Media do anything. Currently,
You have
KOSW,
no control over this.
excuse me, KOSW is currently selling our underwriters. The product that we've sold them, I've sold them, Rosanna sold them, we've all sold them, that had nothing to do with North Beach Media. And we know that under that, 100% of those funds went to the station. Now, if we're gonna talk about North Beach Media, which is a whole nother part of the discussion, I believe, then we have to say, okay, now I do like, and we have discussed the point on this form, that in the future, should we sign somebody up? Or if we sign anybody up under the prices that are in here, that person who's does the signing up would get some sort of percentage, it looks like 20% or whatever.
25%.
Okay, 25%. I don't have a problem with any of that. But at least then we know that, okay, great, the person who does the work spends the gas to go out and get somebody to sponsor the station, they get something so it's not costing them money. And then, so like say on one of these packages, if there's a 3-month package that sells for $150, and then the the foundation, if it's gonna be foundation, or if it's the radio station, realizes out of that $150, $112.50, then what we have to know, I believe, is that we should have some sort of accounting to say that if North Beach Independent Media raises funds on behalf of KOSW, and I'm not talking about underwriting for the TV station, for the Lions Club or anything else, but if they do it for the KOSW, then we should be able to come up with some sort of an agreement where they agree that KOSW will be out of that, that we will get a percentage. So, yeah, we can say they have overhead and whatnot. Maybe they want to pay somebody, maybe they want to do something. I don't know, but I'm just saying out of that $112.50 that goes to North Beach Media on behalf of KOSW, then we should be able to expect that we will receive, or at least 80% of that money will be set aside to be spent on behalf or for KOSW. I mean, part of the reason this discussion has been so big is because our expenses are going to increase in such a huge manner, where we've had city council people in here and at meetings outside here approach us and say, you really think, I mean, the mayor did it. He said, do you really think you're gonna be able to raise the funds to help do this? Well, if we just say, well, North Beach Media is gonna do it all and they'll give us whatever they feel like, that's not gonna happen. Not if I'm on the board. We have to have understanding, we have to have guardrails, it's not just a goodwill system. You do good, we'll pat you on the back and we know you're treating us right.
Okay, so
Can I respond to that?
let me just say that there is an agreement that is being worked up to submit to the city, because it's beyond the scope of this board, I believe, to control what the city wants to do with the radio station. We are here to advise the city on how the station should be run for the best benefit of the citizens of Ocean Shores. And we will not be limited to an agreement with North Beach Independent Media. It doesn't, nothing states that if we would have an agreement with them to be we would be a benefactor, or we would benefit from fundraising efforts by North Beach Media. It doesn't mean that we can't go out on our own independently, as has historically been. However, the money goes through a different path. And the challenge has been, if we want to get this going so that the parties who are out beating the pavement to get the contract signed, to get a percentage or some kind of reimbursement for their efforts, we cannot do that under the umbrella of the city's collection of those funds. That's my understanding through comments from the city lawyer, city attorney, Brent. So we can go outside, we can get others. We can talk to them about the rate basis. Frankly, Dave, if we follow this, there's no way that this is gonna have enough funding. However, the rate structure
Right.
may not be right.
No, it has to.
This is preliminary information in my book. Nobody's said anything, nobody's dug into it. What's the basis for this? It's from our existing.
No, it's not. It's just been redone and we
Okay.
are digging into it. That's
Okay.
Where you got the.
So, well, wait a minute now. So you guys are involved in developing this,
He just redid this, and
right?
sent it out there.
But you've said that,
And no, we discussed the rates to try to see if, where would that leave? Just that stage of fundraising,
I mean, it's $1 a holler. I mean, this is $1 a mention. Is
Not
what we're
even.
looking at.
a lot less in some cases.
Well, in the gold package, the
Yeah.
basic package, I guess. If you take $50 for 3 months
Yeah.
and divide that by 90 days, yeah, it's gonna be almost nothing.
It's cheap, yeah.
Well, can I? talk
Okay,
about
please
this a
do,
little
go
bit?
ahead.
Well, first off, almost no one buys the gold package. We have it because you need it for, in case somebody wants it. But historically, most people buy either the platinum or the Hall of Fame. We actually had a year when we ran our own finances. I think the last year, we made nearly $10,000 in underwriting. Because most people buy the Hall of Fame package. At the yearly rate. So while I understand what Dave did, and I actually commend him for putting all those in, you're probably not going to have very many gold support packages purchased. It's gonna be the top two. Also, the amount in parentheses now, Mr. Bunch was saying, well, he didn't know if NBEM would give that. Would be the amount that KOSW would agree to contract wise, so. If we sold something that said 1 year and it says 520, the 390 is what KOSW would get. That is the whole point of putting this in parentheses.
I see.
It's the structure of, this is basically the net that KOSW
Okay.
would expect. And so every time that we sell one, we would, under contract, we would have forms and we'd hand in. For example, Johnny kind of jumped the gun a little bit, but he has sold a package to an area business, and I have a check, but I can't give the money to KOSW until we have a contract
Mhm.
with an agreement, because I can't give you the money and then have somebody later come back and go, oh, but you can't have this many spots or something like that. So, and in answer to Roseanne's question, Roseanne could be compensated for doing this if she has a contract with NBEM, because all of anyone who wants to go out and sell things, we need to have an independent contractor agreement with. Now, it could be anybody with the radio station, it could be anybody in the public, just basically, but we would need to have a contract and some signed tax forms and stuff like that, and.
Well, which is exactly what the city had suggested would be a
Right.
possibility.
Right.
But the complications are greater than working through an outside.
Maybe not, it sounds like they may be the same.
Well, except that each individual would have to cut a deal for a percentage with the city, and the city's perception of the percentage that would go to the seller of the information of the package may not be consistent with what the North Beach Independent Media offers. So it's gonna, if the North Beach Media offers 1 percentage point more benefit to the seller, then they're gonna go the seller's way. I mean, I presume. Tom's
I think, let's face it, some people think the television's an idiot box and they don't want anything to do with it. And there may be some donors who believe that, I'll donate or have been donating to the radio station, but I'm getting confused over this complication of a television station that I know nothing about. So you're right, Daryl, that place got company rep should not even be bought here, you know why? Because my research shows that according to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, according to Oregon Public Broadcasting, according to Wisconsin Public Broadcasting, radio stations and TV stations should be separate. Funding for each should be separate. Money coming to the radio station goes to the radio station. Money coming to the television station, television station goes to the television station. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting, Wisconsin Public Broadcasting, they distribute those funds to the, but they do not take money from what's going on with Wisconsin Public Radio or Corporation. So they get their money from the federal government, from donations and from other sources that we have no control of, grants and things like that, So I believe, and I sincerely believe that if we have to, whatever we have to do to make Roseanne exclusive to the radio station, that's where I want to be. She's already established a clientele out there. She's also already established a rapport of the radio station or her and whoever else is out there. But at the same time, I would like to see separate but equal. If your company that I don't want to mention wants to gave money to the radio station, great. I'll take every penny that they give the radio station, but I'm not going to vote on having the radio station raise money and then share it with an entity that has nothing to do with the radio station. Oh, and not only that, here, I've got reports that verify my belief, my fact that we should not, that it should be separate but equal. As a black man, I can say that, but.
I'm not quite sure I follow the separate but equal.
Well, if the radio station raises its own money.
You got a
raise its own
webpage thing?
Was that, oh, I thought we did, oh, we didn't.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about what they.
I'm sorry, I do have to go though.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mention that earlier.
Okay, let's wait on it.
Well,
Yeah.
I got another point there.
Well, okay, I mean, because so where do you want this discussion to go? I mean, this is a matter that,
You know, if I could, first of all, I think Trey may have been mistaken, only because for him to be able to say that every bit of the money left would go to the radio station, if that happened, that would leave nothing for the foundation to do what they need or what they need overhead. Now,
that's terrific. I see nothing to do. We've already established that we're not gonna go down the business path of what's going on.
now let me finish. I'd like to finish. I'd like to finish. Okay, you said $1 a yell. If you take a look at the weather package, for instance, that's $520 for a year, okay? A year, what's that get you? That gets you 24 yells a day.
Yeah.
That's 8,760 a year. That comes up to 22 cents.
Yeah. That's what I'm
A
saying.
yell. So yeah, it's very cheap, okay, and which is great. It's very easy to sell. But then I'd also like to point out that I also did a little research. And for us to just say that they can do whatever they want, it's none of our business. If you look behind you on that, you'll see that for city-owned community radio station and other consortia to allow 501c3 organizations to recruit sponsorship on their behalf, following guidelines should be in place. It says a 501c3 should have a mission that aligns with the goals and values. The radio station should have a written agreement with the organization outlining the terms of sponsorship recruitment and sponsorship. Radio station should have a process in place for reviewing and approving sponsorships, because we all know that discussions of pot shop sponsorships and things like that have come up here before. The radio station should have a system in place for tracking and reporting funds.
Please, yeah.
And these are all facts. The radio station should have a policy to place, address any potential conflicts of interest that may arise in the sponsorship recruitment process. And the radio station should have a clear and transparent communication with listeners about the sponsorships and any related information. And I think all that's pretty straightforward and fair and legal.
Well, okay, now you said legal, so that means we need to bring in Brent, because this is a legal opinion. You generated a legal opinion.
No, I'm okay. I say it's all fair. How's that? I didn't generate a legal opinion.
Well,
Yeah.
somebody did,
It's a guideline.
and you presented it,
Yeah, I presented it as a guideline.
and it,
Because I've been trying to do research, for this, so I was prepared when we got into this discussion.
so I think we're going way beyond
Okay.
the capabilities of this radio board's
Yeah.
intentions and, structure.
Right.
Can I say something, please?
Roseanne, yes, please.
Yeah, just to add to this and a question for Trey and Butch, just so I get some clarification. And I think we discussed it in the past, that it sounds like in order to get reimbursement, to sign an underwriter, we go through and BIM, okay? But then we are called an independent contractor, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we have to apply for it, sign for it, have tax forms for it. And my question is, as an independent contractor, do we have to pay for a license in order to be reimbursed from the 501 nonprofit?
The business license? Well,
Yeah.
you have to be licensed in the city of Ocean
Yes.
Shore.
Have to buy one.
Yeah,
You're kidding.
No.
No, that's an independent,
Absolutely.
different than the guy that goes and sells meat at a door.
Right.
You have to pay.
Yes, there is a city fee, and overall, you'd have to pay, tax based on income from that probably. But those are areas that we shouldn't be really putting our toes into too deeply because those are tax and legal matters. that
Can we-
are beyond the scope.
Well, I was just curious as to how much it is, a couple $150, just curious. I have no clue.
It's not just a city license, you have to have a Washington state license, you have to report to the state, you have to report to the city, it's not.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wait a minute.
But those are all inexpensive licenses.
Can I ask a question here? What if we are giving, they don't have to have a contractor's license, if all the money, the 25% goes into the. To the 501c3 account, right? And the rest of the money goes to the radio station, okay? We can donate any amount of that money to anybody we want, can't we?
I'm not gonna allow this board to go down that path.
I just asked the question.
I know, you can ask the question, we cannot answer, yes, sir.
I wanna just take 5 steps back because it's going like drastically crazy. When we originally talked about a 501c3 starting, it was going to be similar to the 501c3 that's for the library. So what happens is the 501c3 does all of the fundraising, does all of the underwriting, does all of the stuff. You have a liaison from the board or the radio station that goes to each meeting and vice versa. And then the 501c3 is the one where the radio board goes for a request of funds for whatever it is, whether it's underwriting donations or you want this equipment or that. And then the 501c3 is who approves that, and then they transfer the money. Whatever the 501c3 does with their underwriting, commissions or whatever will be in their bylaws of how they do it. So it's getting to and my biggest thing is you're talking about the city entering into a contract
Right.
that the city hasn't even had a say in.
Right.
Council hasn't had a say in. You have to keep them extremely different. 501c3 can do whatever they want that's in their bylaws. They can be approached by the radio board for funding, and then they can approve the funding out of their general fund.
Right.
That's how the library does it.
So the 501c3 should approach the city with the intentions and negotiate the agreement. And then we'll get a note that says that an agreement has been struck between North Beach Independent Media and the city of Ocean Shores. And then we'll go down the path. And until that, which is fresh to you guys. I know you guys are just working on this intended contract. That needs to happen. All of our other stuff follows that kind of a contract. So that's why I'm really concerned that we're getting bogged down too much in areas that we're guessing at, number one. We don't even know if the city will agree. So let's not go down this path any further as a radio board.
Because board don't recommend to the city what not to do.
Sarah.
Well, but in contract matters, we can recommend to the city that once this contract gets discussed by them, and we can say, we endorse this, this is awesome. Or we can say, let's take a real hard look at this, and so we can understand your city council meeting, city council's thinking process, and compare it to our thinking process on this, and see if there is a mutual point. There may not be, but we're hoping that there will be. So I
don't think that Sarah really liked the word contract between them, but anyway, Sarah, if I could, my only concern, Sharon, you'd be able to address this better than Marty, I would think, is that, my main concern was around when I've had city council folks, which I don't know any of them all that well, approach me in other venues and say, hey, is the station really gonna be able to help with this money? And I'm just, that's my own concern, because I said, I tried to use my. You know, I don't like to lie, and so I said, yeah, I think if you give us a chance and our area reaches, we should be able to go out there and hopefully make a lot more money. And so would the city be comfortable with, I mean, because I'm still got my mind on a $3,000 rent
Mhm.
thing, that was the big deal for the city
Yeah.
council.
Mhm.
And so I'm thinking, okay, then somewhere the North Beach Media maybe is gonna put some money towards.
So
offset that.
I think that that all has to happen, you know, fluently between the foundation and then the city. So, because it would truthfully be us,
Mhm.
not them.
Right,
Our biggest thing, and Frank can attest, they've already budgeted lease money. And just like the library, and I use them for reference because they have worked so well. It all had to start somewhere. So you do the things you can do, like your foundation or the foundation, I don't know who's on it. Has to start somewhere. You have to get it in
Right.
your bylaws, how you're gonna do things, so on and so forth. And then start looking for those fundraising things and then approach the city with like, now we're running. Now we've got money, we wanna do things for the radio station, we wanna pay that rental agreement, whatever it is. But it has to start somewhere and like, we can tone down only because they've already budgeted for that lease agreement for the next 5 years. They had to,
right,
well, for 2, but they have to.
right,
So you have time to like see how that works, but the discussion, and not any disrespect to the board, the discussion would be between the foundation and the city directly.
okay,
That's my 2 cents about it.
Mhm.
And just based off of, again, the library one that's already
right,
working. And then it gets to a point where we have nothing to do with
Right.
it, because Keitha will then go approach the library foundation and say, you know, I want this deal out and back, and they'll say, well, we have $20,000 we can put towards that. If it's not enough, Keitha will go to Frank and say, Frank, I need $10,000 more to
Mhm.
offset that budget. So like, if you're doing fundraising and we come up on the next biennium budget and you come and say, hey, we have $30,000 or $10,000 we can put towards the rent of the lease or whatever,
Mhm.
then that offsets, like, it's just an offsetting game.
okay,
But it definitely works. It had it, because the library does it.
and that offset some of the city expenses.
Yeah. And that's exactly what they do. They wanted a reader board, they wanted a back thing. I think that's where like, we're kind of getting, you know,
Okay.
board and foundation, but city. So I think if you and I talk, or you and the mayor, will be in the money, very little.
So then I guess the only other thing, and we can do that somewhere down the road, is to figure out if, you know, like we talked about other deals, like website, things, and, you know, whether that's gonna be foundation, having advertisements that we can have on the website and things like that. So all those, I'm just saying that that's a road we can go across in the future, right?
Yeah, and the agreements can be made, like saying that the funding tied to the internet is different than funding tied to the over-the-air broadcast. So that
Okay,
there may be 2 opportunities for fundraising. Frank?
Yeah, I'd like to move on and let Damon.
yeah.
Get going.
Great.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, and then the last thing I say is the North Beach Independent Media is not on the IRS site yet. It's they got.
Well, here.
Just
There's,
keeping track.
okay, so
Oh, good, thanks.
the IRS reporting had a flag up on face of their website that indicated that they were having troubles uploading the freshest information. The information is available now, and that's all we have to say.
Well, for further clarification, North Beach Independent Media effective date of exemption was September 16th, 2022.
Fantastic.
So we have been 501c3 for 6 months.
Perfect.
Hey, one last question. North Beach Independent Media wasn't gonna make a dime off the underrated, okay? We were gonna get enough money to pay the contractor to go out and market it. The rest of all that was gonna go to the radio station. So we don't get a dime as far as the 501c3 goes out of that whole marketing thing. So,
That's for your contract.
right, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
we have a lot of other avenues that we're doing that has nothing to do with marketing that we're gonna help out at.
Right.
Okay.
Understood. Okay. So you guys will follow up on that with the contracting, with the city, figuring that out. Yeah. So, okay, so we'll move on to the website, restructuring online and community radio websites. You know, we talked about that with the, comparison with costs, the restructuring of online and the community radio websites. I know Dave has done some comparisons to other websites. These are not city or municipality owned websites. I'm not sure what the underlying intention was, other than just showing the splash.
Yeah, just showing other community
Yeah,
radio websites.
And then-
So, yeah. I
and
picked-
then
I
if you
just
bring
picked
up
five
KOSW.
randomly. Yeah, I picked up 5 randomly this, I mean.
I think KOSW is like the fourth one.
KOPN, yeah, that one there, I mean, that one's just crazy busy. That's, I think, is Seattle.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah,
and
then-
this is one that I've got another guy working. But I'll pull up KOSW too. That's our current website.
okay.
And, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, so we can see this. Great. Okay, I got it now. All right.
And
Sure.
one of the things that we've talked about for the last 3 months is the like, besides the,
It's-
yeah, there's just been a number of things we've talked about, like the days,
Right.
Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, blah, blah.
Right, again, that's the instruction set within WordPress is not set correctly.
Right, and then when we go to the DJ pictures, a lot of them don't fit like people's upper lip.
This size, exactly. We've already been over those, so.
So what we
So
were
you're-
talking about is, you know, possibly looking at other websites to, I mean, here's like a quick mock-up that I did, or had a friend of mine help me with redoing KOSW website. It's got all
On
the,
what platform is this?
it can be on any platform. This happens to be on Wix, but it can just as easily be on WordPress. It's not an issue.
Okay, so this is just a matter of website structure.
Yeah, this is a matter of
Let's
website.
do this.
And it just looks, you know, it looks clean. You can see they've got the, here's Ocean Shores, here's what we do.
Design.
Yeah, it is in design and,
And so what I had mentioned before was to make an outline of what you wanted to have.
Right,
And so it's all about designing a page. And you can have a number of different designs, and there's templates that you can get. And put anything you want anywhere.
No, what's important is what's going to attract the reader. What visual elements, what headlines are going to attract the reader?
So maybe-
That's what we're looking at. Psychologically.
Maybe there needs to be a
That's what we're looking at.
subcommittee that.
Now, this big glass screen there doesn't do
okay,
it.
this is not going to be a static
Okay.
decision
Right,
process.
right.
As Daryl started to say, and I think I'll jump in and finish,
Okay.
is that this is gonna be an ongoing process. Occasionally, the website's gonna get rearranged. Occasionally, somebody's gonna have a special screen that is up first before it gets to the next level of what we're interested in. And it very well would be, I believe, appropriate to, and we may ask for a motion to put together a ongoing subcommittee to help guide the radio station in the decision-making process of what's to be, what constitutes the content of our website? What is it we're trying to communicate with it? We, you know,
Exactly.
emergency information, artist title information of what's actually on the air right now.
Events.
Mentions as we do now of all the various DJs that have positions there. Maybe some additional event calendaring. I know we have some, but maybe there'll be more. It doesn't have to be a static situation. We don't have to make an absolute decision on what the format of the website looks like. Daryl,
Well, Damon so graciously extended this time, well, I'd like to hear from you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some stuff that could be cleaned up on there. Like I said, I don't know if I was mentioned before, like it was just slapped up. I spent like over 100 hours on this website when we got it. I don't remember when we got hacked or whatever. It's my decision to recreate a full different account because our virtual server was compromised from our last hosting. This is based on a theme that you can get for free or you can pay for a bill. That was one of the freshest themes as of 6-7 months ago. I mean, so you can change it and stuff you want, but that is what the look and what's going on right now. If you were to check out some of that, I'm not sure the ones you have, but some of the local stations, they don't have quite the theme on there. The images, yes, can probably be easily changed. The calendar, or sorry, the weekly deal, been fixed, changed again. There's something in the code that I'd have to figure out that's on that, actually part of the CSS, which actually isn't part of the WordPress. It's doing that. So all those things can be fixed. I told you about the port. With the streaming deal, that is a hosting issue. I think the main thing is again, I apologize, but I haven't, I put a lot of time into it and haven't worked on that here. Again, I know I appreciate everyone else's time, that anyone that wants to put the time in can look and try to work on this, or maybe which you will find out though, if you do pay for a service, you're gonna pay for it.
Mhm.
And it's gonna be another expenditure for the radio, or if the company from the city would like to do it, I think that'd be a great idea and should move forward. I can understand it's frustrating sometimes. Stuff doesn't work, and I said, I've already said that, my reason why, but I think I would do this stuff for a living, I've done it for a long time. That's one that I think the freshest sites were out there. It would look a little bit better out if there was like even some of the social media links and stuff we don't use could be cleaned up.
Yeah, because
That's my
a
opinion.
lot of the social media on the bottom of our sheet there, there are a lot of dead links. And then I think the other thing is we just retook all the pictures for everybody in the studio.
Again, what I'm saying though too is you need someone, this could be a part-time or full-time job for someone.
Yeah,
That's what you're.
Well, if we had, if we had access, or if some other people had access, it would probably help. I mean, I've got a guy that's been working with me that if we had the keys to get in there, we could certainly clean this
I'd
up.
be more than willing to, you clear that with whoever, I will hook you up an account or Butch can, but if it breaks or blows up, I'm not redoing it.
Right, well, our intention is moving under the auspices of the city, so I think we need.
Well, yeah, if the city,
pursue that.
I mean, if the city wants to take on the web design stuff and pay for that too,
We
that's.
did our own.
They do their.
I did the city.
Classes, but
Hosting with GoDaddy, accommodation, over funds.
right, okay, let's stay to the point. We do have a suggestion or recommendation to add a home page link on every page, because right now you have to go back.
Okay.
very much to get it.
And that's for Don Wood.
Yeah, thank you, Don.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He had to.
yeah, it's split. Okay, well, thank you for putting that up.
Yeah, you can, there is actually one up there, if you click on KOSW, it takes you back to.
Yeah, it's gonna be okay.
Takes you back to your home page.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, that's good to know too. Likewise, is the player readily available?
Yeah, it's at the bottom most of the time. Well, it's not on this.
No, it's not that right there. If you're on the website, phones are on the bottom.
Oh, that's right, it opens up that other.
Oh, the scene.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So was there something that was gleaned from any of these other websites that
Just
would be important to us for now, or?
I think just to clean this now, if we're gonna continue doing it, I mean, like I say, if the city wants to work on cleaning it up with us, that'd be great, but I think we've got other people that are willing to help out there too.
Okay,
And we could clean that up, get the days of the week in the right order. Also, I think that, I've looked into the idea that I know has been a discussion that's come up because I've reviewed all your bylaws from before, not bylaws, but meetings since before I was even here. And one of the things that's always come up too is .org as opposed to .com. And so I've done some research in it, and there's 4 points that are listed there that they say that the .org would be better for. One is credibility. Domain extensions are typically associated with nonprofit organizations that can add credibility and legitimacy to your nonprofit public radio station. Trustworthiness. Org domain extensions can help establish trust with potential donors and supporters who are looking to donate to a nonprofit. Visibility. .org domain extensions can help improve your nonprofit public radio station visibility in search engines and results for nonprofit organizations. And then lastly, non-commercialism.org domain extensions help distinguish your nonprofit public radio station website from commercial entities that use .com things. And so since nothing's ever been done, I went ahead and took it on myself to personally purchase the domains koswradio.org and kosw.org. And just in case that we ever want to take any movement on that, I could probably donate them because, and at least they're not going to be taken by, move somewhere else or not be available. Somebody want to, extort us for more money.
I'm gonna presume that the .com was developed because the city used the .com. City does not use
I don't
.org.
think they had anything to do
You
with
can
it.
buy any extension that they available, if the things are open, and you can also have pointers so that if you go to KOSWradio.org, no .com.
Right.
That's.
I think it's just listed the reasons, the credibility of .org.
You can have it.
Yeah, Yeah.
Okay, well, that's cool.
without having to rebuild the entire empire.
Right.
It's just a pointer.
Right, I just know that that come up in your past meetings, because I've got, one of them was on a recording where we're sitting all around the table and you're talking about the need and urgency to change our website to .org. So I'm just backing you up here, Mark.
Oh, no, I appreciate it.
Plus I purchased.
No, I agree, and I think it's one of those matters that is appropriate for the radio station to improve the visibility of it. And there are some searches that are enhanced by using that, so that would be higher.
Yeah.
And plus, well, Dan could probably get more or sponsorship because it's a considered nonprofit. That .com indicates that you're almost commercial station. So why do you want to donate to a commercial station?
Right, well, that's why you use .org, and it would just redirect to that website, and everything would be fine. Any other discussions? I mean, I absolutely appreciate the insight. Can you provide any suggestions of next steps in either interim solutions for a couple of these little hiccups, but the longer term goal as far as being incorporated into the umbrella of the cities?
Well, I definitely think it would be nice to hear before, spend more time and what this decision is gonna be from the city, if they're gonna take over the hosting or having, or if you guys are gonna have someone do some of the extra work on it. I mean, I will try to do my best to find the time to get a couple of those deals. The port issues, like I said,
Right,
that's
we're not gonna get around that. That's,
But,
I understand.
but the other ones like the calendar and the photo sizes, and the, I mean, I can put a home link page on there. I think it's gonna look kind of tacky. Most people, if you put a home on there and every single page, I mean, I could, maybe a back arrow, but if most people go around websites enough, it's kind of standard that if you click on a logo, it goes back to the home page. I mean, I could put home underneath the logo or something.
Sure.
If there is an email, if you'd like me to forward the price difference, which was from this summer, I think.
Seen that. I
Yeah,
think you guys.
I can send it to
provided that
someone or something.
Yeah.
Again, those were prices, I don't know, a few minutes ago,
Right.
but it was actually someone from GoDaddy that looked at what we have. And share too, what we have through Host Papa, we actually have our own virtual server as opposed to GoDaddy, you would be sharing a virtual server, but the processing power and everything is more. I don't know, I'm not saying how anything. There's it would be nice going forward to have someone that had the time or had some expertise in doing a lot of the social media stuff. So I know we do have social media presence, but you're talking about search engine stuff and search engine optimization. I wouldn't necessarily say just by having an org, you're gonna get tons of just hits and clicks.
Right.
It's really about how your website is optimized by the media that you put on there, and there's different ways to optimize it. That'd be going forward to have someone again, that maybe we could find someone that maybe doesn't want to be at the station, but wants to work full-time or part-time, just doing our website.
Well, I volunteered to do that, but I understand that we had some sort of intern that you hired, when I first got here, and he didn't do that. Some paid intern, high school intern.
I don't know, well, let's hold off on the finer points of managing the website until we decide what's going on. I'd like to hear a
I'd
motion.
like to make a motion that we make Damon as the official webmaster for the page, and that then you can fight around, and then you can be the administrator of it at this point.
Okay.
And then take suggestions from other people as far as what the changes may be, and then assign duties as needed.
Yeah, because if you want help, I can get you help, and, you know, because there's some other things that, you know, I think would be cool to, you know, have things like links like some of these others, listener surveys, submit an announcement if you want an announcement, so you can, you know, just make.
Okay, I got a motion on the
more
floor,
friendly.
not discussion.
Oh, sorry.
Second, then discussion.
Oh,
Yeah, that's correct. So we have a motion to
okay, second,
Have-
yeah, that was a good motion.
have Damon become the official webmaster. I don't know how that. Okay.
Well, he's
so-
administrator, so he's just like our station manager, now manager of that.
So he's the final say.
The brewmeister.
Well, yeah, ultimately, the city has the final
Oh,
say.
yeah.
I think we're going a little too far
Okay, so there's a motion presented to create the position of webmaster to be assigned, the position to be assigned to Damon. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I seconded.
There you
Okay, discussion.
I believe if what we have in front of us now is an example of what's to become, I voted nay.
To become as what?
I said, if what we have now is an example of what we have now as an example, tells me that, it may not get any better. If this is what I'm presented with right now, how do I know it's gonna get better? We've already seen examples of what could be or what is. Can we ask Damon, is he going to, I guess I'm curious, why was this even put on? You know, it's so disjointed, you know, I'm not for it, so I'm gonna vote against this special committee for a web designer.
I just want to have a point of contact so that then we can change things if you want, we've got some place to go to, a point of contact to say, I don't like this or I like that one. And then he can reassign duties with other people, so he doesn't have to shoulder all of the work, just like any other manager, and then he can pass out stuff.
Well, how do we know those changes will be committed?
I don't know,
Okay, that's what I'm coming
So
to.
if they're not, then we change
I think
it.
it's better than it is now.
I mean, yeah, and I want to thank you for the hours you have put in. I know that just that short workup I did on there didn't, you know, it didn't happen in an hour.
Right.
There was some hours put into that as well, so, and, but I'm, willing to help and get you some more help that, hopefully can move things along and for your, because I'm not even sure that, because you haven't been to these meetings, you've got other things to do, like a life maybe, and, so you don't know maybe of the issues we've been bringing up.
I mean, it's been, listen, I've been totally blind. I mean, Butch has been, and Trey have been telling me about this. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to get to it. I mean, just so we're very clear too, I know, like, I was doing more of the technical and there is some coding in there. Butch has pretty much been updating the pictures, the information, which has been great. That's why, again, why I went with WordPress. So I didn't have to always do that. So I want to congratulate him as well. And I know that Trey does stuff on the,
It's mainly.
yeah, but even on with the audio stuff, you upload and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of different layers to it. Even the streaming is completely different from the website, different totally service. It's just, we're just getting blocked by that for it.
So let me ask Sarah, is there a webmaster position at the city?
Yeah, I meant.
Okay, so that's good. She says, okay, do you feel that you would be able to work?
I think he's done an excellent job.
Yeah.
And to speak to Tom, as you're going through, like you had a whole server outage, and when you're going through and you're making all of these changes, like how he said that the media that you put on all makes your page go up in the queue of like Google and stuff like that. So when we onboarded the city website, we left a ton of work to do after the fact so that we were consistently
I
and
see.
constantly changing it. So it's been done appropriately.
Okay.
Is there
good.
little things? There's little things every day on our website. People email me.
Mhm.
Can you check? That's a great idea.
So in
Like,
essence,
yeah,
our webmaster would be our point of communication to you for
sure.
physically or electronically editing and putting in the proper links and all that to the website.
Whatever you're
So
gonna.
that would give you a little more breathing space as far as us, hammering you for the minutia. And you could look at more of the content aspect of it if do you feel comfortable with that?
Yeah, I mean, and like I mentioned before, I just kind of have taken a little bit of sabbatical, just because I'm just. I went in hard at it and then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'll see, and then again, if we can, if it knows other people or whatever wants to help without it, I mean, it's more about, that'd be great. People wanna dive in and.
Well, I'm reluctant to open up the opportunity for manipulation of the website beyond the webmaster and the persons who are directly linked to them.
But that would be his call, right?
Yeah, right, I thought we agreed that you take help.
Well, except that he has the city's webmaster for the help.
Well, I thought he and the city were going to consult each other, just like I would consult them, that there would not be any.
No, the work product would be done by the city. Is my appreciation at this moment, right?
You're looking for all the rest.
No, I mean, if we're gonna incorporate under the city's umbrella,
I think that like the point of contact, like it's not a big deal to do, but I don't pretend to know anything about radio.
Mhm.
Like, you know what I mean? I know a little bit about the city to be able to do
sure.
that, so.
But I mean, as far as from the standpoint of the mechanics of making the changes in the website.
We could do that,
Yeah.
whatever,
So you can get
He
all the
doesn't wanna
pictures to
do-
fit.
yeah, I mean, I do next day pictures from council and
Yeah.
stuff, but we have programs for that, so.
Right.
All right, you got a
It's-
job.
So,
Motion.
and so we have that motion to name Damon as our webmaster. And we've covered the discussion, so I guess we're at the point of asking to vote to name Damon specifically as webmaster for KOSW. Those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
There you go, now you.
Okay, okay, all right, thank you. So it sounds like we have a unanimous agreement that. I'm sorry.
4-1.
Oh, I think you said yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, we're,
Well, good.
okay, it's, the motion still passed.
Yeah.
We have Thomas on record. Yes. It's okay.
We'll catch up with the rest.
That's your permit.
Sorry, if you guys don't mind, I got.
No.
Please.
Thank you much.
Thanks for all you did.
First day of track, right?
Very, very good.
I'm not on that tonight.
Oh, you're not.
I'm not.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, Daryl. And so we. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Future agenda items. So the next meeting date will be the 28th of March, 10:30 a.m. here at the library in Ocean Shores. For an agenda item,
Place the old business for the next meeting will be internet provider status. Because
okay,
it'll be after the existing contract ends, so we just want to know what was decided.
okay. And then, okay, so I would also like to defer our vote on the board for the managers. I'd like to hold that till the next meeting. Since we did not have it specifically listed under either new business or old business.
Good.
And we'll follow that path. I don't think we have to vote on that. The way I read it in the bylaws is,
I was supposed to do it last month.
well, it says, we shall. Okay, appointees to serve a renewable one-year term commencing January 1st each year. Board will consider all the candidates. So I think we can hold that until the next meeting, since we have not taken any action on that particular item. Is that consistent with your understanding? Thank you, Sarah. Okay, so with that, does anybody else have anything for next meeting? Future agenda items?
Yeah, I'd like to add the webmaster in the bylaws as a manager.
We can't change the bylaws till July.
Yeah, that has to be, the city council has to change it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can address that, but
Okay.
all right, yes, at this point, we're ready to adjourn. If we can have a motion to adjourn.
We'll move.
Thank you. A second.
Second, please.
Thank you. And so move, the meeting's adjourned.